And we welcome you into Dodger Poke Report, where tonight we have another very special guest. As you see on your right, and Mr. Mark Washington. Mark is a young prospect in the Dodgers organization that has done nothing but just get better and better and better each year he's been in the organization. And first of all, I wanted to say, Mark, before we start anything, when I look some of the stuff up on you, I got to say I'm totally jealous. You're a pitcher in the Dodgers organization, and you're great at golf. Now, what kind of a life must that be, huh?
No, I mean, I'm blessed, man. Just got to love the fact that I was drafted by the Dodgers in 2017 and just love everything about it.
Man, you have a really cool story as I kind of dove into some of this, and we're going to talk about it and unwind most of it tonight, as much of it as we can get to. But let's back you up to your high school days. Episcopal Academy, Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. I know you had Coach Leary was Coach Leary was at the next level, but you had plenty of people in your life, in your pre-Dodgers days, I should say, that were very influential to you. So talk about your high school days. And like I said, I noticed that you won the John A. Harder Award, which was expected, really good. Carpenter Cup, Tri-State All-Star team, expected. Golf? You played golf in high school. Awesome, man.
Yeah. So the way our seasons kind of were set up, golf in my high school was in the fall. So I was able to kind of play that along with, my freshman year, I played basketball. So I played golf, basketball, and then baseball. So it was pretty fun. I only played basketball for the 1 year because I really wasn't as good as I would like. Just wasn't as athletic when I was younger. But golf was just perfect to play after school. I just go out and play on a really nice course. But I was only okay at golf. But it was just really fun to go play golf. I scored in my last varsity match, or my only varsity match. It was just a fun thing to do with some friends. So I really enjoyed that. But then on the baseball side of things, I just really kept them improving every year. And especially in high school, I know I was a $175, and just didn't really throw hard. So I really put myself in the weight room and started to get familiar with lifting weights, my junior year in high school. And then I put on 25 pounds, and ever since then, I kind of have started to grow into my body and become the pitcher that I am now.
And I know guys like you that are as super motivated as you are. The senior season in high school can somewhat be stressful because you're trying to figure out where to go. You're an extremely smart guy. Mechanical engineering is what you majored in at Lehigh, which is an elite university to begin with. So take us from that transition and the decision to go to Lehigh, which is in-state. I know you're the Pennsylvania area. You like that kind of hometown feel as far as that went. So take us from the transition from high school to your days at Lehigh.
Yeah. So coming out of high school, I wasn't committed anywhere per se. But I did kind of have a spot at Lehigh. So I was technically a preferred walk-on, if you will. So that transition was interesting. Academically, Lehigh is a very vigorous school, rigorous school. And mechanical engineering is not an easy major. So it was really tough to balance baseball, being a student athlete. And it was tough to balance time management with school and baseball. But I ended up doing pretty well. That was also a tough time in my life. I know before that, I think you mentioned this before, but my junior year in high school, my mom had passed. So kind of dealing with that, trying to get into college and different things was an interesting time in my life. But I've since kind of moved past that, and glory to God, you got me through everything and kind of got me to where I am now. So that time going into college, I also still didn't throw that hard, but got with Coach Leary and our strength staff at Lehigh. And we kind of just molded me into I started feeling out my body more and kind of getting used to throwing and using my big frame and getting down the mound. And then kind of from there, I know my sophomore year, was when it really clicked. I personally, my freshman year, I didn't think I really had a chance to get drafted or anything. But after that sophomore year, I kind of put myself on the map. I went to the NECBL in summer ball. I think that was 2016. And that was like my first chance at playing guys outside of the Patriot League and playing some guys from like the ACC and SEC and whatnot. And I ended up making the All-Star team on that in that league, and that kind of put me on the map. And I think after that season was when I started getting questionnaires from different teams, and I kind of just took off after that.
Talking about that sophomore year, 1.80 ERA. You're being modest. That is the fourth lowest ERA in the history of Lehigh for a single season. So I think you put it as it started to click. It was a little bit better than that. I'll go ahead and embarrass you and say that, but that was a fantastic year that sets you up for a great junior year. Your junior year, it started off great. Then you have the UCL sprain. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, big year, junior year, like I put a lot of pressure on myself to do really well, and was throwing through some injuries, and it didn't end up going too well. I ended up straining my UCL, so I was out for a couple weeks, and then they put me on a bunch of anti-inflammatories, and I was just trying to do everything to get back to play for my senior class, and ended up coming back, but our run in the playoffs ended up coming up a little short. So
you could have pitched in the playoffs.
I actually did. I came back and threw against Army. I think that was either to get in the playoffs or like a quarterfinal or something like that. I can't quite remember. But yeah, I did end up coming back from that 2-week period of being off and kind of tried to help my team out.
We're going to tie into that time structure that you mentioned at Lehigh, trying to juggle being an athlete and then an elite university like Lehigh is, and the time management of that. I think that has really paid dividends for you as you became a professional with the Dodgers. We'll get to that here in a minute, but as you leave Lehigh, did you expect to get drafted that year? Of course, you still had the senior year to come back if you wanted to. Did you expect to get drafted? How'd that go for you?
Yeah, so junior year, I actually found, so after that All-Star game in New England, I actually found an advisor. He kind of sought me out, and like pre-agent type thing.
Yes,
advisor.
Correct.
Yeah. So he actually helped me out with that. And through that time, like junior year, I was getting a bunch of questionnaires from different teams. And I kind of had an idea that I was going to get drafted. I know my area scout, Rich DeLucia, he put me in, I think it was like a pre-draft workout at LaSalle my junior year, like right before the draft. And I threw really well in that. And then that's kind of when I thought like I really had a chance at getting drafted by the Dodgers. So like I kind of had like an idea, like going into draft day. My dad and I, we pretty much knew I was going to get drafted, but just was kind of waiting for that call, or waiting to see my name pop up on the draft ticker.
I got to ask you, of course, you're in the Philadelphia area, in the Glen Mills area. That's where you grew up, a long ways away from Los Angeles. So knowing that you're going to get drafted by the Dodgers, what in the world do you wear whenever you announce everybody that you just got drafted in the 25th round?
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting because, Philly fans are pretty diehard. And, LA's in the National League. And I think just before that, the Phillies actually just beat the Dodgers in the 2008 season, like when they won the World Series. So I know Dodger fans probably didn't really like the Phillies too much at that time. But yeah, no, it was interesting. But all my teammates were really happy for me. I know we had like a little get together, like almost like a little celebration gathering after I got drafted with a couple of my teammates that were still on campus. So it was a great time. My dad was there and coaches were there. It was really fun. Those
are the greatest moments in life, and moments that you will never forget. And you get drafted by the Dodgers, and I'm sure you got the talk that every other Dodger get, and that is every other Dodger gets drafted, and that is, we want you to become a great person first, a great baseball player second. In that exact order. It's a tremendous culture that they built in the Dodgers system. I don't think people realize, with all the talent the Dodgers acquire, they grow and all that, it is really a culture of great human beings first. That absolutely fits the way that you grew up. So you had to be super excited about that fit, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it because getting drafted, usually like going into that, you hear that it's really like almost selfish is the not the word I'm looking for, but you're kind of like it's all about yourself. There's no team aspect. But with the Dodgers, like right when we got drafted, we had a talk from Gabe Kapler, who was our player development guy at the time. And he kind of told us that like we got to be teammates first. We got to be good teammates first. We got to be good people. I know we stress a lot. There's a couple of awards like every year we give out, or every year every player and coach votes on. Like I think it's called the Jackie Robinson Award, where it's just or like the teammate award, and we all vote on who we think is like the best teammate. And that's like a big part in the Dodgers organization, is like being a good person, being a good teammate first, and then playing second.
Yeah, that's and another thing that they do, like especially with you, is as you kind of look at the way that you went with this, they take a group of guys that they draft, and then they move you up very slowly, one step at a time, and they let you develop that culture because you play together at each step. Exactly. And it's almost like you become brothers, isn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. Like I know, especially in our bullpen in Tulsa, there's a couple guys from our draft class, and then other guys that I've just played with between the seasons and instructs, and we're all rooting for each other in that bullpen. Like we would just want to see everybody have success. Like if someone gets traded, that's good for them in their career. It's tough to see them leave. But yeah, no, everybody's rooting for everybody.
So you get drafted by the Dodgers. You start your Dodger career 2017. You had the strained UCL, the senior season at Lehigh. You get over that. You actually pitch in a game for them, get drafted. You end up playing for the Arizona League Dodgers for the remainder of 2017. You start 2018, I believe, with the Arizona League Dodgers again, get moved up to Great Lakes somewhere in 2018. You get moved. The point here is you get moved up incrementally, and then 2020 hits. That had to be super frustrating for a guy like you that had already spent a couple of years in college. You had the UCL sprain that you got over. You're just starting to climb the ranks, and then just everything comes to a halt.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough time because I felt great in the 2020 spring training. I was on a roll. But like going through that whole COVID situation, it was just hard to find a place to work out. For family reasons, I didn't want to go back home and possibly carry like the virus to my family. So I stayed in Arizona. Dodgers were great enough to kind of house me in a hotel. I was like the only American there for a while. And it was just me and the international guys. Yeah. And for the longest time, we couldn't go into the field. So certain guys that like lived there, I was trying to find rides, and we would go find like a random gym that would let certain people come in at certain times. We were working out in the backyard of our some coaches' houses, just trying to get our work in any like at any time. I remember a couple of the coaches got us in contact with another guy who had like a bullpen in their backyard. I think his name's Coach Zinger. He let us throw our bullpens in his backyard. It would be me, Jojo or Josiah Gray, Tony Gonsolin, and Julio. Like we'd all be throwing back there. Brett DeGus, Kieran Lovegrove. We would all be throwing back there, just in like a tiny backyard. So we were just trying to get our work in any way we could. And then finally, I was allowed to go to the facility, but couldn't go inside anywhere. Just because of the COVID rules, and because I was American, like I couldn't go inside of the facility because they expected me to go back home, but I just didn't want to like take that risk. So that was definitely a tough time. Finally, I went home late in 2020, and then I actually went down to Florida to begin my off-season training for the 2021 season, and that's where I'm at right now currently.
That's an amazing story. You just assume as fans like we are that, professional ranks, they have redundancy in facilities, meaning that, at least there's somebody for a guy like you to go to. But then whenever you actually hear a guy like you describe it, it just really just kind of drives home the impact that COVID actually had on this entire society. I mean, it just threw everything into chaos.
Yeah, it was actually really kind of cool to find out, because when we actually found another place too where we were starting to throw live against hitters, and it was just a bunch of random like minor league guys that were in Arizona still, and we started using DBAT in the hybrid sports performance center. Um, name's Kevin Bay. We started throwing there. He set up a bunch of games like at random high school fields, and that was like our outlet of playing baseball in the season, because we were still expected to get our innings in, but without like actually having places to play. So it was kind of fun to actually like get back out there, and it was very like kind of casual scene, but it was still like you were getting your live ABs against some minor league guys. I actually got to face what's his name? This is bad that I'm forgetting about him or forgetting his name. But Ramirez with the Indians, I forget his first name. But that was honestly amazing to get to face him in 2020 in quarantine. So I got to face him in like a couple live ABs inside, and just like his approach and throwing to a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, was just kind of wild.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. And going from that to where we are right now, which is the off season, and let's tie this thing back into Episcopal Academy. Great academics. When you're a student athlete, you have to really manage your time. Then you go to Lehigh. I mean, it's on steroids at that point as far as having to manage your time, and then you become a Dodger and you got people wanting to pull you every which way. You're halfway across the country from your family and you're trying to juggle everything. So I would have to think that your Episcopal days, your Lehigh days did a great job of training you how to become a professional and how to use your time wisely. Would that be correct?
Yeah, you would be spot on with that. I put myself in really great positions to do things well. Like I put myself down in Florida here to work out at Cressy Sports Performance. I've been doing that every off season, and that's just kind of helped me propel me to where I am now. And you got to be disciplined too, because it's not like a cheap thing. So what I do is when I come down here, I usually find a place to live with a couple other guys, and I'll get a job. And I think 3 years ago I worked at Tommy Bahama, and then now I've been working at Lululemon for the past 3 years. So like I'm always trying to keep myself doing things and using my brain and keeping my body active. So like I'm putting myself in the best position possible to be ready for the next season.
Very intriguing to hear you talk about the type of jobs that you've had to take to pay for certain things that you wanted to do. And I know some major leaguers have really stepped up for the minor league cause here as of late, and especially over the 2020 season. I know David Price was real big in the Dodgers organization. So I'm sure that was big for you.
Yeah, that was really big, just because like our paychecks just aren't much, just like lower than minimum wage, and it's tough to kind of live off our signing bonus when certain guys don't get those high round dollars. So yeah, no, that was awesome of David Price to even think about us and even give everybody the money that he did. But yeah, no, that helped out a lot, and I was greatly appreciated for that.
You mentioned that you're in Florida, and for that, I'm very jealous. Obviously, that's number one. I'm sitting here in the middle of a pasture in Oklahoma. I kid a little bit there, but anyways, you're in Florida in the sun, in the warm, and you're training very hard. So for a guy like you that is as disciplined as you are, that is this close to the major leagues and seeing your dreams become a reality, what is your off-season routine?
So my off-season routine is it's literally all based off my workouts. So I work out, I'll go to the gym 6 days a week, with Sunday being the off day. So Monday is like a lower body day. Tuesday is an upper body day. Wednesday is like a mobility day. And then Thursday, it just repeats itself. So Thursday would be the lower body. Friday.
Now, wait a minute. Pitchers don't need to be athletes, do they?
Pitchers definitely need to be athletes. Pitchers are definitely athletes. But yeah, so we definitely do a lot, and then we'll do like even cross training with like some running and some other like volleyball or basketball, whatever we can do just to keep our bodies active. But yeah, no, it's definitely a pretty demanding demanding job. Like even if we're not getting paid for it in the off season, we're definitely putting in work.
We're talking with Mark Washington, a prospect in the Dodgers organization, pitched last season, 2021 in AA Tulsa, had a great season for them. I got to see him 3 different times. Before we get into your stuff, I wanted to ask you, you know, a guy like you that's 6'7" and you have all this ability and you're so intelligent, so you understand things so well, and you have all these analytics at your fingertips. I know I didn't ask you this before, so, but anyways, with the analytics that you have at your fingertips, are those very beneficial for you?
Yeah, they can also be like a black hole, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Hearing background, like baseball is literally a bunch of physics. But Dodgers have set us up perfectly with it. They give us all the tools and opportunities that we can use to better ourselves. We just have to ask or like kind of learn how to use these certain things. I know our pitching coaches in Tulsa, like certain days, if our certain pitch, like if my slider isn't feeling well or my changeup isn't feeling well, we'll go to the bullpen before our games, and we have like research and development guys, and our pitching coaches will put the Rapsodo on our and throw bullpens with that. We'll throw with Edgertronic, just do anything to help better ourselves. And then with that, like after we go in the games, we have a bunch of data and certain like heat maps and miss rates, and there's literally, you can look up anything you really want to as far as that. And it's all there at our fingertips. Like I couldn't ask for a better organization because they give all that to you. I know some orgs, it's just tough for certain players from talking to friends. It's tough for them to kind of get that data, but all of that, it's at our fingertips, and we can ask for it, or it's there for us.
So you do have to ask for it then, right? They don't feed it to you.
It depends on what it is. Like certain things, like using Edgertronic or like a Rapsodo, we might have to ask like, hey, can I get on the TrackMan today or something like that. But no, we have our own database with all the heat maps and like everything, so we can do our own scouting if we need to. Like if we're playing a different team, we can look up how they approach like me, how they would approach me, or how I would attack them. So we have all that at our fingertips. But then going further in depth, they have obviously even more data analytics that we can get our hands on if we like need to.
One more thing before we get to your stuff. Hennessy, your manager at Tulsa, very popular guy, very impressed with him. Yeah. Can you talk about him just for a second?
Oh, Coach Henny he's the man, honestly. Not many managers gonna give you that opportunity to win in game. Usually when the manager comes out, you're getting yanked. Yeah. Not many managers give you that opportunity to like ask you how you feel, and then keep you in the game. I know that happened a couple times. He came out and I usually, when I'm on the mound, I'm pretty intense. I gave him a couple death stares. But no, he kind of let me do my thing, and I was really grateful for that. Like he's a player's coach. I really enjoy having him in the locker room and just talking to him in and out of the field.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes. You can have all this other stuff we've talked about, but if you don't have the stuff, you're not going to last, right? But obviously you have the stuff. I mean, you're talking the day I saw you at Amarillo, and you were anywhere from 95 to 97. And the thing about your fastball, of course, everything that you do revolves around your fastball. And what impressed me the most, at least from what I've seen, is the different ways you use it. You command both sides of the plate. You change eye levels with it, up and down with it. And really the thing that makes it the most effective for me is the amount of what I call arm side run. You let go of it, and it slides away from left-handers and into right-handers. And it kind of gives it a look like it's rising. I know it's not physically, that can't happen, but talk about your fastball and the ways that you use it and how effective it is for you.
Yeah, I pretty much throw everything off my fastball, as a pitcher should. So I know generally this is going into the data and analytics. Generally my fastball is like I'll have a lot of vertical break. Yeah. So it does give that appearance that it does ride. So I try to live in the top of the zone, especially late in the count. but I always can have that. I always have that glove side, the low and away, the 4 spot is what we call it. I have that. That's always there for me, whether it be a lefty or righty. So I kind of just throw my pitches like off those lines, and I try to tunnel my pitches as well as possible, but sometimes it might not be there. Sometimes it is, but literally everything is off the fastball. Like if I'll throw a high pit or a high fastball, I'll throw a changeup or slider off that. If I throw a low and away fastball, I'll try to throw certain pitches off that and sequence certain things. So yeah, I've definitely worked a lot with trying to get my pitch characteristics to where they are. And it's still a work in progress because baseball is a big feel thing. Like some days you'll have your changeup and some days you won't. So it's always a work in progress with that.
Interesting. You mentioned that some days you'll have your changeups and some days you won't. And it seems like with guys like you that have such devastating changeups that flutter almost like a knuckleball, it seems like it's almost from pitch to pitch and inning to inning. And is that changeup that you throw? I mean, I've seen it a couple times to where the catcher had a hard time catching it because it fluttered so much. Is your changeup hard to control for you sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big field pitch. Some days I know exactly where it's going and some days I don't. But those days where I know where it's going, if I have my off-speed pitches, it's going to be a tough day for the hitters. But no, I think some days I mean, most of the time I know where it's going. But yeah, it's definitely like a thing that we have to work at every day, and that's why we throw it before in the games. We'll get off the mound and I'll throw it, and I kind of have a feel for where it is that day.
Mark Washington talking to us, Dodgers prospect in Double-A Tulsa 2021. Certainly appreciate the time that he has granted us. Last question from here. We're going to finish it up with your what I call a 2-to-7 shaped slider type pitch, and then you have a 12. I don't know if you call it a curveball, but it's kind of a 12-to-6 vertical movement type breaking ball. So 4 pitches, and you're in the bullpen. I know you like being in the bullpen because you feel like you can max out on everything you do. You don't have to conserve. But having said that, we've seen the type of roles that the Dodgers have put in place for all different types of versatile pitchers like you. So talk about having 4 pitches and what kind of role you think that will play for you in the future as a Dodger.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I only have 3 pitches. It
Okay.
may look like I have, but some days I might get on the side of the slider or kind of behind it. So I'd throw a 4-seam, a changeup, and then a slider. But I'm pretty much open to whatever role I would get put into. I do love the bullpen. I know this past year in Double-A, I was kind of put in some high leverage roles in late in games, and I love that. And I think I really thrived in those situations. But I'm down for whatever, honestly, because when I first got drafted, I worked my way into the starting rotation in the AZL, and I did okay there. But they've always kind of put me in those long relief situations and scenarios. So I feel like I have a background in almost a foot in anything really. Like I doubt they'll put me in the starting rotation, but I mean, I can do it. But
Sure.
I'm just like a late end bullpen guy. So I'm going to stick to what I know best, and it's just attacking hitters.
Mark, I lied to you. I want to apologize. I took more time than I told you I was going to tonight. So I want to greatly thank you and tell you that you have a big fan at Dodger Poke Report that day. And I wanted to finish this by saying the day I saw you in Amarillo, those side poodle hitters had no shot to hit Mark Washington. It was impressive.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.